It's been almost 50 years since 5 men went missing in the Plumas National Forest. They are known as the Yuba County Five, and what happened to them remains a mystery. Tonight, as ABC 10's Roxanne Aaliyah shows us, their families are still pleading for answers.
For almost 50 years, these woods have held the mystery of the Yuba County Five.
Case isn't closed, and I don't know that I'm even waiting.
Their disappearance has puzzled people around the world.
No way on earth that they went on their own.
Is it possible something nefarious happened? Did one of these people turn on their own?
No matter how simple you are, you ain't gonna take off in the woods.
We get the answers to this case now. It's been 46 years, no need for this to go on any longer.
And it is that disappearance that really kind of draws you into this case.
It's a question still being asked 46 years later. What happened to the Yuba County Five? The men who lived with intellectual disabilities were known as the boys. Ted Weiher, Jackie Huett, Bill Sterling, Jack Madruga, and Gary Mathias.
Madruga was from Yuba City and everybody else lived in Yuba County in the Olivehurst area.
The one up on the top right.
Dallas and Perry Weir remember their brother as a gentle giant.
They didn't have a description of what was wrong with him then, and as I think now, it might have been autism.
He could write and spell, and he could remember movies better than the rest of us.
Tony Wright, author of Things Aren't Right, The Disappearance of the Yuba County Five, describes the other boys as very active and friends who loved to spend time together.
And then you had Jack Madruga, who was 30 years old. He was a very quiet, introverted person, but very smart, very kind and loving, and that's how he was remembered by his family. Bill Sterling was 29. He was an avid bowler. He too was an athletic individual, known for being a very sweet individual. There was Gary Mathias, who was 25 years old. He was very athletic, known as a great brother. He was a musician who played in a rock band in high school, was a great harmonica player, spent time in the military. And then there was Jackie Huett, who was 24 years old. He was a great friend, a very loving person, very kind, very sweet.
The boys met in the 70s on a basketball team for a Yuba County nonprofit that helped people with disabilities. They followed UC Davis basketball, and on February 24, 1978, the 5 men piled into Madruga's car to watch a college basketball game in Chico.
It was Chico State and UC Davis. Davis was their kind of home team. They really wanted to see them do well. And they had traveled this before. It wasn't a first time for them. So it was familiar territory, familiar path.
Brian Bernardus, the cold case investigator for the Yuba County Sheriff's Office, says there's no doubt the boys made it to the game.
The editor of the Chico newspaper actually recalled seeing the 5 of them there, where they were, because they were kind of out away from everybody else. There was something very distinctive about them. They were memorable.
After the basketball game, they stopped at a convenience store in Chico.
They'd stopped in there and picked up candies and cakes and milks, the things that kids would buy, not things that young adult men would buy.
But it's what happened next that still puzzles law enforcement agencies to this day.
They literally disappeared into nowhere.
Gone without a trace. On February 24th, the boys disappeared. The next day, on February 25th, the boys' families reported them missing.
That night they were saying, well, they're grown boys. They can go do what they want. They're not lost or anything. Well, those aren't normal grown boys.
On February 28th, Jack Madruga's car was found in the snow on the Oroville-Quincy Highway in Butte County. That's about 70 miles in the wrong direction from home.
What was the condition that the car was found in?
It was intact and undamaged. Best way to describe it. It was abandoned, for lack of a better term. Windows were down, or at least one of the windows were down. The candies and milk and things that they had purchased at the store, those wrappers were in the car. There were some maps that were found in the car, which Madruga was kind of a map student. Nothing would indicate that there was any foul play or some type of heinous act that occurred.
A massive search followed.
So now you have Yuba and Butte counties both working the case. They brought in snow equipment so they could travel across the snow, and the weather came in and put a complete halt to any efforts to look further.
For days on end, families search for their missing loved ones.
Just the thought of, my little brother that I love dearly being by himself, lost in the woods, and, you're scared spitless.
But it wouldn't be until June 4th that detectives would get a break in the case. Motorcyclists off-roading near a rural Plumas County campground came upon some portable buildings used for fire crews during fire season. They found a broken window and went to take a closer look.
And when they opened the door, the smell of decomposition was pretty intense, and they realized that something significant was in there, and they found a human body in there on a bed.
It was the body of Ted Weiher.
Ted was laying in the bed on his back, and he was wrapped up very neatly in several blankets as if somebody was trying to keep him comfortable or take care of him. He was in a tremendous state of decomposition.
When Ted's body was found, investigators say he had lost almost 100 pounds. He starved to death.
And then also they say there was cans of food open with a P-38, a military can opener. So who opened those, I don't know. And I don't know if Ted would have known that or not.
Ted's boots were also missing, and Gary's shoes were left behind in the trailer. And there was a propane heater that had not been touched. On June 5th, Bill Sterling and Jack Madruga's bodies were found next on the side of a road about 5 miles from where the car was found. On June 6th, Jackie Huett's body was found about a mile from Ted's in a wooded area by his own father.
That was probably the most tragic part of the whole thing. He finds his son's remains.
Still missing Gary Mathias.
Why were they up there? And like he's saying, somebody made them, and maybe not so much made them, might have promised them something.
There were rumors that the boys were involved in a fight outside the convenience store in Chico, and reports that someone confessed in church to killing them. None have led to the truth. As for Gary Mathias,
There have been talks from the families that believe that he may have been the one to cause all this or involved in it.
That was the hypothesis early on. I mean, everybody, law enforcement included, really suspected he was somehow responsible for their demise. He was the one in the group that condition was not naturally occurring. He did have a troubled past.
Mathias had had drug problems and was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
I sure would. I'd give my hat and my overcoat to know. Because it is just so stupid, so silly, and so gruesome, and so 4 or 5 people missing, and one of them is not found.
It's almost been 50 years. What makes this case so difficult to solve?
No independent information, no witnesses, and the likelihood that the only people that truly know that what happened that night, they perished in those hills. I speculate too that even Gary Mathias perished in those hills.
There's a lack of evidence. There were no fingerprints lifted or blood tests done.
Sometimes, the passage of time, people get closer to their own mortality and they feel compelled to confess to something they did because they realized how bad it was.
Ted's brother Dallas turned 80 this year, and he says he has faith this case can still be solved. He just doesn't know if he'll live to see it happen.
Unless somebody come forward and knew what happened, that's the only way it could be.
I don't know what would solve it. And maybe with what you guys are doing, what 2 other people have done, I don't know. I don't know if I can't have any.
And the Yuba County Sheriff's Department says that it does receive calls about the case here and there, but there's just a lot of speculation. So if you or anyone you know has any information on the case, you are asked to call the Sheriff's Department. Their number is 530-749-7777.